Kylian Mbappe left PSG and they won the Champions League for the first time in their history. He joined Real Madrid and they haven't won the Champions League since. The same player, the same summer, two clubs, two opposite fates. And the manager everyone said was finished without him just lifted the Champions League trophy for the second consecutive year. Marquinhos said it in the dressing room in Munich, tears running down his face after a 5-0 Champions League final win over Inter Milan. 12 years of hardship and suffering. 12 years. Messi was there, Neymar was there, Mbappe was there. The most expensive squad ever assembled in football history was there. And they never won it. The question nobody wanted to ask in Paris was finally getting its answer on that pitch in Germany. Was Kylian Mbappe the reason PSG kept winning everything except the one thing that mattered? To understand what Luis Enrique was trying to build, you have to understand what he was hired to dismantle. For a decade, PSG had operated the same way. Sign the biggest name in the world, build the team around him. Protect him from anything that might tire him out, upset him, or limit his freedom. Zlatan did it, Neymar did it, Messi did it. And Mbappe, who had watched all of them from inside that dressing room, had absorbed every single lesson of what it meant to be untouchable at this club. Luis Enrique arrived in July 2023 and said something that no PSG manager had ever said out loud before his first competitive match. I am not here to win the Champions League. I am here to build a team. The press laughed. The supporters panicked. Al-Khalifi smiled the smile of a man who had heard this kind of talk before. But then Luis Enrique went into that dressing room and said it directly to Mbappe's face. Michael Jordan would grab his teammates by the balls and defend. You think you only have to score goals, but that's not enough for me. Mbappe sat in silence. He had no answer for it. Because the numbers were indefensible. Opta tracked 6,044 players across the top 20 leagues that season. Mbappe ranked 6,044th for defensive contributions per 90 minutes. Dead last. Behind every striker, behind every winger, behind every goalkeeper. Years later, on a podcast with his Real Madrid teammate Tchouaméni, Mbappe finally admitted it himself. I'm a player who defends a little less than others. And sometimes that can be a problem. Luis Enrique had been saying it from a dark room in 2024. Mbappe was confirming it publicly in 2026. Here is what the cameras didn't show. What Luis Enrique said publicly after that conversation was this: we defend in a way to avoid tiring Mbappe and attack to give him freedom. The moment he leaves, the team becomes the cornerstone. I think we can be even better next season. He said this while Mbappe was still at the club. He was already building the team for the version of PSG that existed after him. Because Luis Enrique understood something that the club had been refusing to accept for years. A ferocious press, the kind that wins Champions Leagues, doesn't work with 10.5 players. It doesn't work when your best player walks instead of running, drifts instead of pressing, and receives the ball in positions that the other 10 players have created through collective. When Mbappe announced he was leaving, Luis Enrique didn't beg the board to keep him. He said, when I want him to play, I'll play him. When I don't, same thing. In the middle of a title race, about PSG's all-time top scorer. That wasn't arrogance, that was the diagnosis. Mbappe left in June 2024 on a free transfer. PSG had paid 180 million euros to sign him. They received nothing. The media wrote the eulogies for PSG's Champions League ambitions before the season even started. But Luis Enrique had already replaced him. Not with one player, with a system. Ousmane Dembele, written off at Barcelona for years as a talent who couldn't stay fit and didn't do the dirty work, became a striker. He scored 35 goals across all competitions. Bradley Barcola, 21 years old. Desiree Doué, 19. Gonzalo Ramos, Vitinha, João Neves. 5 of PSG's 11 most used players that season were under 23. Every single one of them pressed. Every single one of them ran. Every single one of them did exactly what Luis Enrique had told Mbappe was non-negotiable. In the Champions League final in Munich, the same competition PSG had failed to win despite spending over €1 billion on individual talent. They beat Inter Milan 5-0, the most one-sided final in the history of the tournament. After the match, Luis Enrique was asked who deserved the Ballon d'Or. Dembélé, for the way he defended in this final. That's what you call leading a team. The player who pressed, the player who ran, the player who did everything Luis Enrique had asked Mbappe to do 2 years earlier in that dark room. Dembélé won the Ballon d'Or that autumn. Meanwhile, in Madrid, Mbappe had finally got what he'd always wanted, the club he had dreamed of as a child, the stage he believed was built for him. In his debut season, he scored 43 goals. By individual numbers, it was extraordinary. Real Madrid won nothing. They finished second in La Liga. They exited the Champions League. Then they exited again the following season. In 25 Champions League matches for Real Madrid, Mbappe's team lost 10 of them. The same club that had won the Champions League in 2024, before he arrived, couldn't win it with him. And PSG, the club everyone said would collapse without their greatest ever player, won it the first season he was gone. Mbappe himself said it on a podcast, 2 years after leaving Paris. My last year with Luis Enrique was full of ups and downs. For the last 3 or 4 months, I wasn't playing. My head was half in Paris, half in Madrid. So technically, I didn't benefit. He wasn't criticizing Luis Enrique. He was admitting he never actually played in the system that won the Champions League. Because when Luis Enrique finally built the machine he had described to Mbappe in that dark room, the pressing machine, the team without egos, the one where every player defends like Michael Jordan, Mbappe wasn't in it. He was in Madrid, watching from the other side. And Luis Enrique? He just won his second Champions League in a row.